Going live now.
Hi, hello. I hope you're having a wonderful time whenever you're watching this. So, you're welcome to another episode of Get Up series. We usually discuss issues around business and so that entrepreneurs can learn how to better their business, learn how to do things in a proper way. Just sharpen each other, basically. That's what we do. My name is Titi Layo Ekunda. I'm your host for today. And Girl Series is brought to you by 8 Girl Partners. We are a venture studio and we do great stuff with companies. We provide growth as a service and talent acquisition. Today, I have a wonderful guest in the house. He's an innovation specialist with 7 years experience delivering training, market access, funding to entrepreneurs and corporates. Today we have Mr. Abiodun Lawal, and we are going to be having a lovely conversation today because we're going to be talking about how to develop your business idea. You're welcome, Mr. Abiodun Lawal.
Thank you very much, Titi. Pleased to be here.
It's good to have you. So straight to the point, Mr. Abiodun. A lot of people say I have this business idea. I have this business idea. What is the first thing to do when you have an idea? How do you even test if your idea is what even exploring or is what spending time on?
Okay, thanks, Titi. So good afternoon, everyone, or morning or evening, depending on what part of the world you're watching this from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so to your question, Titi, I always say that ideas are worthless until you turn them into a model, or you can derive a model out of them. So um, it's very easy to say, oh, I have an idea, but it's very difficult to think through your idea and make a model out of it. Now, typically, when you have an idea, the first thing to do is not to believe that, oh, my idea is high and mighty. You need
Ah,
to validate the idea. That really is the first
the
process.
idea.
You need to validate it.
Okay.
And it is from validating it, and the reason why I always say first that idea is worthless is so that you can have a sober approach to what you're trying to do. Because many entrepreneurs have burnt money, because of overexcitement. So they wake up and say,
Uh-huh.
hey, I have this idea, and then
The
there is
idea.
maybe they just go and tell their dad, hey, give me 2 million naira, and then they spend 2 million naira building something that nobody would ever use.
But
That
Mr.
even the father
Abiodun,
can
they
say,
usually
no,
say, okay,
please go
sorry,
ahead.
sorry to cut you. People usually say ideas rule the world, idea is king, idea is So if
Well,
is worthless, how do we
so
just
I'll
oppose that?
explain. The ideas that rule the world don't exist in their minds. They've been translated from
Uh-huh.
ideas to
To
reality. Yeah. So the part of ideas that is worthless is the prospect part of it, because while you have the
okay,
prospect, or you're talking about the prospect, there can be 10 million people with the same prospect. In actual fact, it is the person who validates the idea and who moves with the idea that actually makes or that actually gets value out of the idea. So idea in itself being in
okay,
your mind is actually worthless until you make moves. And that's what I was about to explain, that the first step in the move that you need to make, which is the answer to your question now, is to validate your idea. And the best way to validate your idea
okay,
is you can't validate it by yourself. You need to validate it from the perspective of the customers you are planning to service. So if I want to sell
okay,
something to millennials, I can't validate it by saying, hey, I have this idea for millennials. I actually need to talk to millennials and then get the feedback from millennials before I can, really say that, oh, I have an idea or that this idea makes sense.
oh, okay. So if I were to summarize what I think that you said, you are saying that you can validate your idea by testing it with your target market, with the end users, with the people that will use it.
Yes.
Okay. But is it possible for you to get a mixed feedback? So let's say that I speak to 10 millennials and then five are telling me, I don't think it should work. And the other five are saying, maybe it should work. Or maybe it's a 70-30. How do you still go on? Do you still how do we do that?
All right. So that's a good one. So that's where things like prototyping or market
Oh,
testing then comes in. And the truth of the matter is, you're expected to actually have varying opinions. Excuse me,
okay.
not everyone would immediately say, "Oh, I like your idea, we're going to buy from you." It's expected that some would say, the idea is okay. Some would actually be very excited. Some might, there'll be different reactions to it. But what it will help you do is it will help you tailor your idea into, it will make it more streamlined because you've heard from people. Um, so depending on the depth of research you do, if it's qualitative, quantitative, or even a combination of both, you can pick things like keywords,
Okay.
from your idea essentially, and then from those keywords that you've picked from your idea, you can use that to streamline your ideas a bit more and then build a prototype for these same users. So what a prototype would help you do is, and this is how to manage, to your question, how to manage the feedback when you have conflicting feedback. What your idea will help you
Mm-hmm.
do is to help, or your what your prototype will help you do is that it's going to help you get more detailed feedback from them. People can just say, "I'm not going to buy this thing," and then you now bring it in and like, wow, okay, I think I actually like it. Oh, I didn't see it
Like
in this way. So you need to prototype so that
okay.
they're able to see it and then feel something. And of course, prototyping is just a way of, well, there are different ways to prototype, but the typical approach startups use is called lean methodology. That means if you're going to build a car, that is the end goal. You can as well start by building a scooter. A scooter is a little more technical. You can even build a bicycle or something that just achieves the
Mm,
goal of moving people from one point to the other. So
to the
that
other.
exactly, yeah, is how you're going to start validating the feedback you've gotten from your potential users.
Okay. So let me summarize what I think I heard. So yes, so get the feedback and then take incremental steps. So yes, you want to develop a car, but then you start with something small at the beginning.
Yeah,
Okay, so what,
but
what's
small, I,
the
I should say,
okay?
sorry, I just want to clarify that small there doesn't
Okay,
mean you
please.
should do something that is not viable or something that does not work.
Okay, so like an
You know,
MVP, a minimum viable,
something that is
is
viable,
that what?
something that is useful.
Okay,
May not
okay,
have the extra features, but must be useful. Must be something that when they take them, they're like, oh, wow, I like this thing. So your final product could be more techy and more nice and have better aesthetics, but it must be something that work that can at least give them a level of experience.
okay, okay. So that is noted. So let's assume that the first step is you test the solidity of your idea by speaking to the your what's the name now, your end users, the people that are going to use either the product or the service. So you get the
Yeah.
feedback from them. So what do we do with the feedback? I'm sorry, maybe I did catch that.
So you're
Once you
supposed
get
to act
feedback.
on the
Mhm.
feedback and then use that to prototype a lean solution to them so that you're not spending too much money. So take in your
Okay,
feedback and use that to, now the first thing you use your feedback to do is to adjust your position, because most times what you're coming to the end users with would most likely change. Your solution will most
okay,
likely change because you will get deeper clarification into their real problems, into the alternatives that they have available that they are using to currently solve their problem, so etc. etc. Now, when you get all of those, you know, further insight into the problem you're trying to solve, it will most likely alter your assumption, because whatever you're calling an
okay.
idea is really an assumption. It's really not an idea yet. It's just an assumption. You are not very sure
Uh-huh.
what the problem on the end user side is, especially when you're building for a
Is
market you're not familiar with, right? So it's important
okay,
that that you are just assuming. You can't be too confident that you're sure until you go in and do some market research and then you come back. That's when you can say, okay, I have refined my idea and then, or I've
okay.
tested my assumptions or my hypothesis, right? So that's it.
Okay, okay. That's beautiful. Uh, you mentioned something about, okay, so you talk to people, hear what they have to say, get the feedback. But we usually hear, Tokwa stole my idea, Kemi stole my idea, and all of that. So if you don't want your idea to be stolen, and then it's and part of the process is for you to share the idea. Where's the balance in all of this?
In all fairness,
Yeah.
people steal people's idea, and it's a big issue globally. People steal
Mm-hmm.
people's ideas. In fact, people even steal ideas that you have gone to work on, that you have gone to validate, they have even made a model out of. People still
Out
steal that
of
one
it.
too, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
But the standard thing you can do is protect your idea, right? And
How?
there are legal ways to protect it. So you can patent your ideas, which is a popular one, patent your ideas. Um, there are other steps like copywriting, right? It's also another step um,
Okay.
to protect your ideas. So you can speak to, you know, your legal friends, your lawyer, um, preferably you can speak to an intellectual property lawyer. I know one in Nigeria. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention a brand here that I can recommend.
Yeah, I get people.
But
Yeah, I do
okay,
see this.
so there's a particular IP legal firm that's intellectual property. That's what they do pretty much.
Okay.
And they sit on the, I think the director sits on the board of World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. So I really, really
Okay.
recommend them. They are very, very vast. They are called O Coyote. O
Okay.
and Coyote. Yeah, so you can Google them. They're a
Okay.
legal firm, O Coyote. Yeah. So people like, and then another one, of course, would be Banwa and Igodalo. I've had interactions with their partners, especially around all their partners that deal with SMEs and startups. And I know that they're doing
Okay.
great jobs in the IP space. So those are some of the companies that you can run to protect your ideas essentially. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So at what stage do we now protect this idea? Because you said something very, very instructive, which was all you have is an assumption until you speak to who is going to use it or until it's being tested. So at what moment do I protect it? Because, okay, so if it's an assumption, that means I have to share. So at what point do I protect it? Is it until when, okay, it's looking like, at what point actually in the whole length do I now start to think of talking to a lawyer to
To
protect it, or
an
when it's
IP lawyer.
still in my head?
Yeah, well, truth is you can share it at almost any point. However, your lawyers would advise you that you can't just protect everything. Like not everything is
Okay.
protectable. So the idea is that you can typically patent. They have specific characteristics that they must
Okay.
convey. For example, I know one of it is that it must be novel. That means no other person is doing anything like it, right?
Okay.
So if it is completely novel, like it is just out of this world novel, and trust me,
Word.
if it is going to be out of this world novel, it most likely cannot be something that flew into your mind because that thing that flew into your mind can fly into anybody's mind. It has
Mind
to be
you.
something you have
Okay.
probably tested, you have
Okay.
designed, so that is the level actually where you can actually go and patent. So
Okay.
otherwise, everybody who has a random idea, like myself, I like to generate ideas a lot. You know, I
Okay.
probably have a billion patents by now. So there is also some level of caution around it. Otherwise, everybody will just keep patenting stuff. So there needs to be some level of work actually before you can patent.
Okay. Before you can
So I
put
think
it.
that is the
Okay.
stage where you can begin to think around patenting. But this is not expert advice. So I
Okay.
would say, inquire from your lawyers and
Okay.
they
So
can advise you better.
okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. I just want to jump the gun here to say, okay. You mentioned the fact that you have a lot of business ideas. I've had people come to me to say, Titi, come and give me business idea, and I'm like, I don't get. So I think some people actually do want to get ideas, but they don't know how to get ideas. So can you give a few pointers on, okay, this is how you can get your mind to a place where ideas can flow in.
That's a good one. That's a very good question. That's an entire course on ideation because people
Oh,
just think that
okay.
ideation is something you just do, but ideation is actually very technical, you know. But I'll just say this: ideation always starts from solving a problem. In as much as you're looking for ideas, you won't see it. But if you're looking to
Mm.
solve problems, then you would get ideas. So that's really the hack, you know, nothing more.
Oh.
Just, find problems around you that are worth solving. Now, not
So
just
how
random
do I
problems. So,
know a problem is worth solving?
okay, that's
How do
what
I
I'm
know it's
just
worth
about to
solving?
explain. Yeah, so what is
Okay,
worth
sir.
solving would be problems that, well, I typically use, I think, two or three yardsticks to check it. One of the yardstick is how desperate are the people that are currently experiencing those problems to come out of it. It is
Okay.
that desperation that will prove to me that they will pay for it. They're ready to part with their
Oh,
money for it. If it's a
okay.
problem where they're like, oh, we can make do, better don't waste your money going because you have not built anything. Or if it's a problem where they have a lot of alternatives, then they are not solving. You know. So I typically use, the magnitude of the problem, and then I think another thing I typically would use in my mind to see whether this problem is worth solving is I look at what others are already doing, and that is, yeah, I think I already mentioned it now. What others are, that's the alternative. What others are already doing. You need to do a lot of market research. Recently I was running with a particular idea, and I had to sit down with a mentor, and he's somebody who is very vast in financing those kind of projects, especially.
Okay.
So when he explained to me the what people have already presented to them, the ones they have financed and all of it, I just realized that wow, I think the way I'm currently looking at this project, I'm probably because they've been presenting such projects since probably what the 1990s. So I feel like the way I'm looking at it, I'm
Oh,
probably still thinking around doing it like the 1990s. Because
90s.
me, I just saying, I want to do this project. So I thought I was solving, but apparently I was still trying to solve it the way they would have solved it in the 1990s. So what I'm saying is people have also now developed, newer ways, newer streams to drive efficiency. But the problem is still there. So in my mind, I thought, oh, okay, let me come and solve it. So I just picked the most, and this is what people call idea assumptions. They pick the most simple solution that comes to their mind and then
That's it.
say, I have an idea. And that's what I'm
That's
saying.
it.
That's why I used a live example of that. I also picked the most basic solution that would naturally come to my mind to say, oh, I have an
Mm-hmm.
idea. Only for me to discover that this idea that I took to my mentor to say, hey, I have this idea. He said, see, you've been funding such projects like this. You see this particular idea you gave me? Go and look at XYZ company. They built that company in maybe, I don't know, maybe 1950 something or 1980 something or 90 something. I'm like, wow, So that's another way.
Mm-hmm.
So urgency of the problem, or size of the problem, and a little bit of competitive research. What are the alternatives? And then many people come back to tell me,
Mm.
oh, I don't have any competitor. Actually,
Ah,
if you don't have direct competitors, you would have indirect competitors. So
indirect competitors. Mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
so
Okay, so
that's it.
for the sake of those that don't understand what indirect competition mean, uh, could you please explain that?
Okay, let me just give a simple example. So you can say, hey, I want to create a bleaching liquid like Jik or IPO, but before Jik or IPO, let's assume that there was none. There was no other way to bleach your clothes, right? That you were aware of. You just knew that. Oh, let me use an example. Let me use a very relatable example. Let's say you want to create a water purifier to purify water. That's a
Okay.
big problem in the world till now. And you say, no,
Mm-hmm.
I want to create water purifier. And then you create your water purifier, go to China to spend a lot of money on building your prototype, and then you ship them in, like 200 containers. You want to, you know, spread it throughout Africa. And you take it to a village in
Mm-hmm.
Malawi, and then when you get to the village, you realize that, number one, their water there is clean, not because they are using water purifier, but because they're using alum, you know,
To which
to
is
purify
cheaper.
it. And then
Mhm.
you're coming with, because you spend so much money on your R&D, you're coming with something that is quite expensive, and then, yeah,
Mhm.
alarm would not work as good as water purifier. Is it not alarm that they use? I hope I'm correct. I hope you're in that generation that knows alarm.
Eh, well, yes, we use alum at one point, but it's not for drinking water, dude. Maybe you want to wash,
Uh,
because I think alum makes the water hard. Yes, yes.
Hard.
But then,
Okay.
yes, we use it to
But alum can purify water to some. Okay, 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 awesome.
to a
I
certain
just wanted to be
extent.
sure
Yes,
to a certain extent. But some
to
people
a
used to
certain
drink it
extent. Yes.
actually. It's because you are tech, that's why you're saying
Ah,
that it makes the water hard.
ah.
You didn't know.
Is you have hard water now. And maybe people in the village.
See this woman. See this woman. Yeah, 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 yeah. You're still speaking Lagos English. All right. So,
I
but
mean,
then, yeah. So, but I know that that's, for example, is an indirect competition, because it's not the best, like you rightly alluded to. It makes the water hard. So you're coming with something good, something better, but there's already an alternative for them.
alternative.
And at that level, what it would affect, you can say, well, I don't have any computer, but what that whole process would affect is that it will affect your pricing, because the people will look at which one
Mm-hmm.
is now cheaper. Because to them, Alum still does the same thing. You would have to get them to a point where you're either giving them the product for free for them to go and try, or you are crashing down your prices before you can beat that your alternate competition. If you wonder why they are not buying it, they're not buying it not because there is a company that is doing water purifier, but because they can always get along. So that's an example of indirect competition.
Okay, so it is just to put it in layman terms now, is to say that bread and gari are indirect competitions to each other when you want to eat beans.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty
Okay,
much.
so you have to consider. So if you are going to create a bakery, you have to consider the fact that okay, so gari is also available. People can
It is,
go
oh,
for gari
it
and then
is,
factor that
it
in your
is,
decision.
yeah.
All right, all right, all right. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so when you are talking about your mentor, you mentioned financing, and you brought the question to mind that some people will have an idea and they don't even bother. All this one we are talking about validating or talking to the end user, they don't even do that because like I don't even have the money, so I'm not even going to start thinking about. So in your own opinion, with your the experience you've amassed, do you think the money question should come very early in the ideation phase or in the assumption phase or whatever it is? Should you start considering money at the very beginning?
Well, my answer might be counterintuitive, but the truth is yes, you should. I'm counterintuitive because if you've
Okay.
heard me speak before, you probably think, well, or if you've heard many people teach around money, they say, oh no, don't think about money. Money is not the first thing you need.
First.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I agree. It is not the first thing you need, but it should be in your first considerations. What the first thing you need is to
Okay.
go and validate and everything. You need to consider the cost of whatever it is you want to do. Very, very important. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the project. I won't tell you the project, of course, but I'll just tell you a little bit more about my
Okay.
interaction with my mentor on this particular project. I actually had done
All right.
market research, to the best of my ability. I had done a lot more. But you see, there are some things that you won't find on the internet like that. You need to take
Mm,
to people who are who are on the ground, who are hands-on to really guide you. Now, one of the advantage of talking to potential investors is that they don't just some of them don't just listen to you; they leave you with guidance, right?
yeah.
And that is a very, very important factor, because anybody who's going to put their money into your business, trust me, they are looking for how to, you know, get the most, get the best from this business. Essentially, they are looking for how to ensure that this business does not fail. So trust me, if
Okay.
they give you
Mm-hmm.
feedback, they are giving you not
Take it
because of your
seriously.
idea alone, but because they know that they have a stake in this, or they are
Stick.
about to take a stake
Mm-hmm.
in your business, right? So at that point, take it very seriously what they tell you. Right. So financing is important because you can't just go and do all this work and then not think about financing. However, the problem is, and this is what people have been trying to teach when they say money is not the first thing. The problem is people wait to get money first before they do anything.
Okay. Okay.
They literally don't validate, they don't give prototypes, they don't do market research, they don't sit with mentors, they don't sit with, with their potential sponsors, as it were. They just go ahead only looking for money. Like they
For
don't do any
money.
of these things. They just go straight for the money. As though when you get the money, you already have
All
something
of
you're going
those
to use
work
it to do. Right.
to
So the
do.
challenge is when you now get the money, many people just take the money straight into building anything they have assumed that is a product. And this is until they've wasted money, building that realize that, I think
It doesn't work
burnt
like that.
money. So yeah, money
Mm.
is important to think about, but let it just be in your plan, in your roadmap. But think about it, look towards it, look at what the cost would be, look at all of
Mm.
that. But much more, don't say because I'm not raising funds yet or because I don't have money yet, I would not proceed. You do every other thing you need to do. And truth of the matter is, if you do all those other things you need to do, excuse me, it puts you in a better place to actually attract money. But
Okay.
if you go looking for money
Money
based on
first
just your
without doing the
assumptions,
work.
people that are serious and really want to give you money will send you back to the drawing board because nobody would give you money for free. It needs to come. Money would only come when there is a level of value. And trust me, I can prove value very well. If you tell me your idea, I can prove value out of it. If it's just an assumption, between me and you, you see here that this thing does not have value yet because it's just an assumption. But when you've done your groundwork, you've validated, you've done prototyping also will cost some money. And that's why you need
Okay.
to start thinking about money from the beginning. Yeah, you see what
From
I'm
the
saying? So
beginning.
there must be some change that
Yes.
you will use in the process. Market research will cost some money. So you can't actually move without a level of money. But people wait for the big bulk, and that's where the issue is, right? So you need to clarify, you need to create real value, that goes beyond just I have an idea, that goes into a level of documentation, a level of insight, some level of information, right? That shows that you've done your assignment. When you have all of that and you present it to funders, then it's easier for them to sponsor you because you have real value with you, not just an idea.
Oh, okay. Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much for creating the balance to the money question. And we've not even scratched the surface of this whole developing an idea thing. And you would have to go
Uh,
soon. I hope we can
that's
have
fine.
a conversation later. A continuing conversation later. I hope we
That's
can do
fine, no
that.
problem. No
Okay,
problem.
okay. So one last question from my end. Throughout this conversation, you've mentioned mentor, having somebody that you can run the idea by, somebody that is more experienced. I think that is different from the target audience. So yes, there's a target audience to validate the idea, to see if there's really a need, to see if people even want the problem to be solved, to see if people will even pay, to solve the problem. And then you mentioned the second category of people, which is having somebody that have gone ahead. And I would like you to speak more to that, having a mentor, having somebody to guide you. How important is it in the scheme of things?
It is I can't stretch it enough. It is very,
Mm,
very, very important. I don't even know where to begin with this question really. Until you make certain decisions, right? And then you probably bear the brunt of those decisions. You won't realize how important having a mentor is.
is.
Apart from the fact
Mm,
that it's a very credible thing to do when you go to speak to potential funders and you say, hey, this is my mentor. Apart from the fact that it's very credible, what mentors will do is save you what now? Years of wastage, as it were.
mm,
Yeah. So in my case, I have different mentors, for different aspects of my life. But
yeah.
my business mentor, I've had business mentors at different stages. When I want to do projects of a certain amount of money, there was the mentor at that time for me. But when now that
Oh,
I'm also thinking of doing projects in another
eh,
certain amount of money, you know, um, there is also, um, a mentor that I must talk to,
Mentor.
at that level, right?
Mm.
So, um, I mean, and it also, you can't just pick mentor because you like them or because they're popular. There must be people who are not only passionate about what they are doing, but they must be people who really hold the value that we need, right? So, for example, I'm
Mm.
thinking of starting, some projects in, let's say, oil and gas. I should not go and have a mentor in football academy or something, or sports,
I was like,
you know.
Evola.
So it's important that we talk to
Like, it's not a
mentors and
business
don't be
mentor
afraid.
because mhm.
And don't be afraid. Your mentor will carry your idea. You see all this idea thing. Okay, oh, it's good actually. Unfortunately, people have bastard. Some people have taken advantage and actually stolen people's idea. Not just idea, people's work. They want to validate. They've even
Whose
done all
life
those things.
work.
Then they come to you and then you stole it. So that's a different thing. That's we've seen that in the tech ecosystem. However, I feel you really, really do need a mentor. They are just everything from the connections they will give you to the advice. It's just out of this world good. What they can do for you, it is just so good. So for me, and then I know people may have had some bad experiences with their mentors, so I can't completely say that everybody should,
Mm.
you know, I can't force it
Should.
on people or shove it on people's throat. But I'm saying that in as much as you can, or that lies with you, as it were, please
Was the
get a
one.
mentor. Yeah, get a mentor. Very, very key. They will give you everything from access to instructions to advice to to guidance to helping you to derive value from it. And then imagine people who have been 30, 40 years in an industry, their network is massive, right? So if you're just
It's
starting,
massive, actually.
who else can you meet actually, if not them? They can send you to the end of the world. They have everything on
The
their phone, at their beck and call. So you really
mm.
want to be, and then all of this, I want to say one final thing, around this mentoring. There is also the need for credibility and character when you're entering into business,
Okay.
you know, and that's how you're going to be able to stay under a mentor because they would look at you and x-ray you. If they feel like you're not credible in character, then you would have a problem. And even people who are funded, they don't want to work with you because they don't want people that or someone who is not credible in character. So it's even good, to stay under a mentor because that way you would be, as it were, in you'll be checked, you'll be under check. They'll be able to check you,
We're gonna check.
and
Be held
yeah, and
accountable.
exactly. So things like accountability, are core actually in entrepreneurship. People take note of these
Okay.
things in the ecosystem. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Biodulawal. It's really
Thank you too.
interesting conversation.
Thank
I'm looking forward to bringing, inviting you again. I hope you read our call. Where
you.
would I think scratch the surface a bit
No
deeper
issues.
because I think we touched
No
on
problem.
solid points, but we've not even scratched the surface. Thank you very much. We really do appreciate you, Mr.
All right.
Abiodun.
Thank you too for inviting
Yeah.
me, and have a
Thank
good one. Okay.
Yeah, you
Bye.
too. Have a good one.
All
Yes.
right.
Bye.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed the conversation. Uh, I just want to summarize what we said. Number one, you have an idea. Until you've tested your idea or until you validated your idea, it is an assumption. So the first thing you do is meet those people that are your target market and run those ideas by them. Let them would they is it something they will pay for? Is it something they would like to use? Is it something they will enjoy? Is it gather those feedback and then use it to work on your idea? And Mr. Abiodun Lawal also stressed he emphasized the point, pardon me, that it is important that you have mentors, people that serve as guides on your way. And yes, money is an important question to ask from the beginning, but it shouldn't stop you from doing and from acting. I hope you really do enjoy this conversation. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned a lot. This series It's a wonderful series where you'll be learning a whole lot more. So look forward to listening to us. Yes, yes, and having fun. So this is Titi Lion from Get Partners saying, do have a lovely, lovely time ahead. Thank you.
Nice one.